Hi, I'm Josh, and I'm here with my son Jason. We're going to go through and show you how to build a salmon ladder based upon extensive research on Jason's part.
Yep.
So right here, you're going to see some of the official specs, as well as a little bit of what we did that deviated from the official specs. Really, that main deviation came with the actual width of the salmon ladder. We found 3.5 feet to be a little bit big for us, so we dropped it down to about 36 inches. Just some of the key things here, though, were found on the actual Ninja Warrior website, so you can go verify this on your own.
Yeah.
This is it. This is actually what we built, and this is what we're going to show you how to build right here. This is our salmon ladder as it is being complete. You can see that it's an actual 12 feet. There's a 6-foot ladder there right behind it, and we put it up that full 12 feet. So some of the key materials that you're going to need, and we actually overbought our materials in the beginning.
Yeah.
But what we found in the end is this was the minimal material list that you would need right here. Some of the key things being that 2x6, those are your main supporting beams on each side. We got the 12-foot long beams, and then we got two 2x4s, and those were 8-foot long, and that was just the right amount to create our rungs. We got a box of 3-inch wood screws, and what you're going to find with the 3-inch wood screws is they will actually go through just a little bit through the rung and the support beam itself, but we wanted extra support, so we went with those. I'm not sure a 2.5-inch would have worked very well. We also used 17/64 drill bits to create our pilot holes in the runs themselves, and then we had to buy an angle. I didn't actually have an angle here, so that was about $3, so we bought an angle. And then Jason found the actual galvanized piping that they use for fencing. And we're going to show you that in a little bit too.
1.5 inch wide.
Yep, and it was hollow, right? The
Yep.
hollow piping there, so it actually worked perfect. You're also going to need a couple bags of cement if you want to mount it like we did, as well as cement forms. So, and we'll also show you some other little miscellaneous things such as the corner mounts and whatnot. So kind of what you want to first do is you're going to set down your actual support beam, and you're going to need to give yourself a little bit of space at the top to work with. Now we started measuring our rungs from the top and started putting the spacing equally down from the top. So in order for the rung not to overhang on the very top edge of your support beam, you have to measure down about 6 inches. And then once you get that 6 inches established, then what you're going to do is you're going to measure out 12-inch increments going all the way down the support beam. And what it's going to look like is, once you get that 6 inches, you're going to, in your first 12-inch segment, you're going to take your angle and you're going to get that 35-degree angle on there as shown here, and you're going to draw that line. Now what you have to be careful of is that you're going to have to do this kind of in a mirrored way, the opposite, on the other support beam. That way your rungs are facing the right direction. I have a picture coming up here in a little bit that will show you what that looks like so you can visualize it. We basically had 7 runs, which I really think is a great amount. I don't know what the official is. Do you know how many total runs they have on the Ninja?
On the Ninja, for qualifying and finals, it's 4. And then on stage 1, they have a double salmon ladder,
Right.
which is, I think, like 8 or 9.
Which I think is a good point, because on a double salmon ladder, the specs are even a little bit different still, because I think they create a wider base yet, upwards of like 4 feet, because that way somebody can actually flip through the between the 2 salmon ladders or something like that. So get your 30-degree mark like this, and you're going to do that all the way down in those 12-inch increments. You're going to put that from the top going down, such as this. And then when you're done, it should basically look like that, where we have all our markings all the way down. So this is kind of your checkpoint, this area. And we had 7 of those from top to bottom. And I think I actually even marked out more than that, but we found that 7, anything lower than that was too low to even do a salmon ladder pull-up.
I also found that with the 2x4s, we had like 1 or 2 extra rungs just like off of the 2x4. Which was kind of nice because, like, if we made an error or something, we would have 1 or 2 extra at hand.
Perfect. So looking at step 5 is really the rung specs. I kind of wanted to go through this and show you that the run itself is actually 10 inches. And that's measuring it from the base to the tip edge of where the 35-degree ends. So what I would suggest is cut out this rung, make sure it's perfect, exactly the way you want it, and then once you have that rung, you'll cut out the remainder of the rungs for your one side of the salmon ladder, and then what you're going to do is you're going to flip your miter box or however you're cutting them to the opposite, and you're going to cut your 35-degree angle the other way, create your template rung that way, and then just chop out the rest of your rungs exactly the same way. You can also see too the way that it's mounted here is there's an actual 4-inch overhang. That is the official overhang of what they recommend from the Ninja site. This was a good checkpoint that we did. So once we cut out the master rung, as I took it down, and what I was checking here was not necessarily the distance from the top, but what I was looking at here more was the angle. I wanted to make sure all the angles were right because I think that's a key thing. And knowing that the angle of 35 degrees here was right, what that was going to prove to me is when I mounted it, I was going to have it perpendicular to the actual base itself. And you'll see that in a moment. So mounting, that kind of comes next, right? So we looked at mounting. We're like, well, we can go freehand all this stuff and drill them, but we really wanted to be careful and make sure that when we mounted all the rungs, we had them done in the most efficient way that would actually hold them correctly. So what we did is built a template out of a piece of cardboard. We then took and kind of overlaid that on top of the base and looked at where the best mounting positions would be for the screws. There was a little bit of art and science, yeah? Mm-hmm. So the holes that we put in, we said we're going to need 4 of those, and we kind of angled them a little bit and got them just right. But the nice thing about this is having the template, then we knew we were going to have a consistent way for all the runs going through. This is what it looked like after we went through and we drilled the holes. So we kind of did a little bit of an assembly line. We went through, we drilled all the holes in all our runs like that using our template. Again, I would suggest drilling your first set of holes, taking it over to your base, looking at it, making sure it all mounts up, looks good, kind of seeing the spacing of where the holes are to the edges and all that to make sure it's going to be the best, the strongest position for what you're doing.
Yeah.
What we did is we used some 3-inch screws. I bought a 1-pound box of them, and we attached 4 in each run like that. And basically this shows you kind of from the hole to actually being fully secured and in there. You can also see some of the pencil marks we used to kind of, when we were looking at doing our template, figuring out how to position the screws for our template and whatnot. That's what these light pencil lines are there for those actual holes there. So that's a good checkpoint there to mount as shown.
And this whole project didn't come out to over like $85 or something like that. So you can get it pretty cheap, or you could buy better wood. We just use regular pine here, but if you're going cheaper, then I would use the 3-inch screws to be super strong and still be in your price range.
Yep, that's a good point. So yeah, we tried to do this all for $100 because Jason was paying with his own money on this one. So as you can see here, this is a good point just to show you how the opposites work. So if you're going to have this, right, one side is going to have runs facing one position and the other side like that. This is actually looking at them side by side and what the finished product might look like. So kind of setting them up on end, this is what they would look like. Yep, we knew we were on the right track here at this point, and so we kept going. One thing we did find though, and you can kind of see it if you look closely right here, we did have a little bit of the tip come through after we mounted the rungs, but that was okay, easy enough. We just took and just shaved off that tip there, but we knew then that this was going to be the strongest way we could do it by having that 3-inch screw in there.
Yeah.
So we cut off that excess thread, or really just a little bit of a tip there. Then we had to think about the bar that was going to go across. Now, based upon the length of the bar is going to vary depending on what you decide to do for your width of the actual salmon ladder. Our width that we went with was 36 inches, so we found that a 4-foot long bar would be adequate. Any notes and details about this bar?
When you cut it, it's going to be really, really sharp, so you can duct tape that. I wouldn't want to make it permanent duct tape, because if you want, you can fit a bar into that pipe, and like a 1-inch or 1.25-inch bar into that pipe and make it heavier for a better workout once you get better and better at your salmon ladder.
Great. So if it's not hard enough just doing this is a great way to step it up another notch. It should also be noted too that this actual bar that we used here, the galvanized steel, was plenty strong enough for an adult. So this is totally feasible for
super strong.
An adult to use. It will not even bend a little bit. Very strong. So kind of looking at this here about the width as we are mounting it, we did the actual 36 inches. Remember, the official is at 3.5 feet or 42 inches. But again, 36 inches is perfectly adequate for us. You can see how our bar is sitting up top there. We had the 36. Now, 36 inches, the point of this slide, is to show that that's from edge to edge. So it's the outside edge of each of the base holds there, essentially. So the reason I show you that is because excuse me, when it comes time to mount this, what you're going to do is you're going to use some actual forms, what we did. And now some people may want to actually dig a hole in their yard, but what I would caution you on doing that is it's going to lower your whole salmon ladder. We wanted to keep it up as high as possible. That way the lowest run would have actual ability to start going up, doing your pull-ups from that lowest run. If you actually do it in and bury it down in the yard, it's going to lower the whole salmon ladder, a couple feet. So what we did is we decided to use a couple of these actual forms, and what I did is I centered them in there. As you can see, the bases are centered inside the forms, and then we use 1 bag of cement per form to actually get them in there. Now what we had to do is we had to measure these carefully, right? At the base, we looked at measuring them 36 inches apart, and then at the top, we had to do them 36 inches apart, and then I put in a board across the top to make sure it was held there.
Yeah. If it's not stable, it's not going to stay. The cement will crack, and it'll fall apart.
Yeah, so that brings to mind, too, stability. So thinking about how you're going to stabilize the center of it, I think, is very integral here. We attached it to your monkey bars, as shown here, right?
Yeah.
So what we did is we actually attached it to his monkey bars using some corner braces. And when we attached it to your monkey bars, what this did is it actually created kind of a obstacle here when you're about halfway up.
Yeah, so like I could get to the 3rd rung, but then if I wanted to get to the 4th one, I would hit my elbows on the bar right there. So what we did was we cut it out, as shown up on the top, and we kind of replaced those corner things, and now I can get up all 7 or all 6 rungs technically,
right,
and without any obstacles like that.
Yeah, and so we had to add in a counter brace back here to replace the part we cut out. So we put some back end brace there, and as you can see on this side, we did the same here. We kept the back of the monkey bars intact, but we also did that. Now I think one thing too, Jason, you found is that when you were doing this and you started to fall, what happened to that bar?
Well, let's see. The second time I did it, I almost got to the 1st rung, and then it fell on my back, and I was pretty hurt and maybe a little bit bleeding. So after I started by tying a rope to it, and then I actually found a little pulley and some rope. So I got some rope and a pulley, and I found a weight that was almost exactly the weight of my bar, so that when I go up and I fall, the bar will stay perfectly stationary. It won't go up, it won't go down, it will just stay right where it is because of the weight. And that helps me because it doesn't fall on my back.
And does that actually help you when you go up, though, having that extra weight there?
It doesn't at all.
So that's just enough weight to hold the bar, right?
Yeah. You're going so fast up and down that the weight doesn't even do anything except keep the bar where it is if you fall.
Stationary. Okay, good. And also, too, what about when you fell onto the ground? Did you have something below you? I mean, obviously, we don't have a swimming pool or anything like that.
Yeah. We got
a couple crash pads,
yeah, a couple crash pads. You can use like futons or whatever, just something to cushion the blow, because it's just a hard fall from up 12 feet.
Obviously. Okay, so thanks, and we hope this video was helpful to you. And if you do your research out there, I think you'll find that this is probably the most comprehensive video, hopefully to date, just due to all the material supplies and things like that. So good luck, and thanks, Jason, for all your help.
Yeah.